Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. We're back.
Sam, what did we do yesterday?
Okay, guys, yesterday we had our day off, okay? We like to have one day off a week, and usually we don't have to watch anything on Sundays. But we happened to watch a very, very cool presentation at TennoCon about a very, very cool game that someone might have heard of. It's called Destiny 2. Ha! Joking. It's called Warframe, and it's coming up, people. It's getting bigger and bigger, and it's going to be definitely taking on that Destiny 2. Let's talk about that, about Warframe, Destiny Poo, and what to expect very soon.
All right, everybody.
Hello, everyone. We're back.
We just said that.
We just said that again.
Say it again.
Hello, everyone. We're back.
So, yes, look, TennoCon has just taken place. TennoCon is Warframe's annual conference where they announce, their next plans, or their plans for the next sort of 12-month period of that game.
Yeah.
Now, for just I'm sure everybody already knows about Warframe, but just for some background context, the game was released in 2013. It was in a pretty sort of bare state, but over a process of, 4 or 5 years, over a period of 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Digital Extremes, the developer, based out in London, Canada,
Yeah.
Have really turned it around.
It's probably the biggest game I can think of now with Destiny 2 in terms of that space. Like, it's come from this tiny game to now being one of the biggest MMO looter shooters out there.
Let's go to Steam charts right now. So
Let's have a look.
This is now 9:40 a.m. in Australia. Warframe is now the 4th most played game on Steam.
Yeah.
Now, I think it normally hovers around 7. Obviously, the TennoCon taking place right now has boosted player numbers. Mind you, that's just the players on Steam.
Yeah.
Warframe also has its own client. When I play Warframe, I just run it off the client, not off Steam. That's not counted in the numbers.
Sure.
So, it's a big game. They have just announced a big set of changes, or at least updates.
Yeah.
We'll sort of cover them briefly, but the two main ones to focus on is the inclusion of Fortuna, which is an open world colony on Venus.
Very, very cool.
Now, the Plains of Eidolon expansion that was dropped last year, around September, October, if I remember correctly, focused on the Grenier. And you were on an Earth colony.
Yep.
And that was their first foray into open world spaces.
I was going to say, that was the first time they were dabbling in that, seeing how it was going to go. And obviously, it's been a very, very praised reception. Everyone loved it.
Yep.
And now it's 4 times bigger, this new expansion.
That's right. So this Fortuna sort of space on Venus is 4 times the size of Plains. It also has the inclusion of, hoverboards, a new crafting system.
How cool is the hoverboard? When I saw the hoverboard, I was like, why isn't Destiny 2 doing hoverboards? Well, they should have. Now they're getting shuttle over.
And then of course you've got Railjack. Now Railjack is their basically space dogfighting kind of mechanic.
Like a Millennium Falcon looking thing.
It's basically Warframe does Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
So your squad will be up in sort of in low Earth orbit, or low Venus orbit in this case, fighting off waves and waves of Corpus. It's really bold. It's really ambitious.
It really is, and it really, the moment you look at it, you're like, this is one of the most gorgeous games that I've ever seen. It's
beautiful.
And the most, you're right, ambitious in terms of creativity.
Yeah.
The world building component, the small amount that we really saw at TennoCon really gives you so much information of like what to expect, where they're wanting to go with this franchise, what to, in terms of the enemies that you might be fighting, and the world itself that you'll be exploring. Like, there's just so much that they gave you.
Yeah. And last but not least, you've got Warframe on Switch. So
Warframe on Switch.
Panic Button, who are the developers that were responsible for the porting of Wolfenstein to the Switch. They ported Doom.
Yep.
And I believe they also ported Rocket League.
Yeah. And
so they're basically a specialized port house.
And Ralph was actually at TennoCon, everybody. Okay, we, the Laymen, can report that he sat down with Steve Sinclair, and he was actually saying that Steve was playing Doom on Switch.
Yeah.
He was literally saying, I was playing Doom on Switch.
It's a true story.
And I was like, hang on, if they can do this with Doom, we can do this with Warframe. And he literally picked up the phone, was like, guys, let's do this. And that's how
he just called them up.
That's literally how Warframe came to Switch, because Doom kind of led the way.
Yeah, we can be sure that this update is big. And let's not forget that Warframe is a free-to-play game.
It's free.
And how much does it cost?
It's free.
And what are you charging?
It's free.
Just for a little bit of background, like I've got only about 250 hours on Warframe.
Only.
Trust me, if you play Warframe, 250,
I know that, but
250 hours,
a lot of
is
people,
nothing. I'll be laughed at for having only played 250
A lot of people that
hours.
don't play, that might watch the channel that play the occasional COD, they'll be like, only 250 hours?
Yeah.
I've got like 700 hours on Overwatch.
Yeah, of course he does. No, 0 hours on anything else. I never had to spend a dime on Warframe. I paid $100 and bought some credits just because they were on special, and I kind of wanted to give some money to DE. But it is the most fair, free-to-play economy I've ever seen in a game.
I think it's a really good moment now to really talk about, of course, its competitor, Destiny 2. Now, the biggest thing, firstly, is like Destiny 2 and Bungie have like 750 or like 1,000 people on their staff. Now, Warframe has like 250. Now, we see that Warframe's free-to-play model, right, is so much more ambitious in terms of what they're trying to do and the updates that they're giving us. When I see Warframe's updates, or when I see Warframe's DLC, or these TennoCon presentations, it's so ambitious. It gives you such a great snapshot about how much they really want to be adding to these worlds compared to Destiny 2.
I think the big problem with Destiny 2 is that they're kind of still working on adding in their original content from Destiny 1.
Yeah.
And it's almost become a meme at this point, but it's worth mentioning. Whereas Warframe is so ambitious in the way it adds, fundamentally new gameplay mechanics.
New enemies. Like, the big problem with Destiny is like there's no new enemies all the time. But like there's so many things. Let's just quickly run through them because I really want to make sure that we don't want to spend too much time on the whole Destiny thing, but really the PvP side was severely damaged by just the way that the direction they took. I mean, the Eververse,
the 4v6 stuff,
the Eververse itself completely destroyed the way in which you play Destiny 2 compared to Destiny 1. It's just, it was so pay to win, it was so grindy, it was so hard to really get to that light level, without having to pay a huge amount of money. And not to mention the Forsaken, the DLC, the annual pass, the stuff that they just pile on and on and on. They make it in such a way that you can't really enjoy Destiny without paying for everything, especially if you have friends that also play Destiny. They lock you out of that if you don't also pay just as much. So these are just some of the things that I find that they're anti-consumer compared to Warframe, where they are so giving in what they give, and they're so about, let's give you a great experience, and there's an option to pay, but you can also have a great experience without having to pay a huge amount to enjoy what we give you in Warframe.
Yeah, I think this is a really important point to hammer in on, is that the way in which Destiny 2 approaches content updating completely fragments the player base if you don't want to buy that content. So the way that Destiny 2 have done this is that they've got a two-pronged approach to paid DLC. You've got the Forsaken DLC, which is $40 US. Now that's your story update. That's going to be your new missions, your new voice-acted story campaign, and some other bits and bobs. You've then got your annual pass, which is a basically paid endgame content. So the endgame content that you'd expect to get in any kind of persistent online shooter, they're asking you to pay for. Now, I mean, you can sort of split hairs and say, well, World of Warcraft makes you pay a subscription fee as well. But, I mean,
it's a different thing entirely now.
This is a different thing
entirely.
It's a different
landscape. A different landscape too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really quite underhanded in how it's doing it, and I mean, it's just $70 US in total to keep playing Destiny 2 in its most updated state. But the game is $60.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing here is a lot of people also always just kind of put the blame on Bungie, but I really, really do believe that Activision had a huge part in this. They're very aggressive with how many games they want to bring out in the next 10 years. I mean, we're only at Destiny 2. They want Destiny 3, 4, and God knows how many more. And not to mention, I think that they would be very much in the position of saying, let's make sure this is monetized as best as possible, so we, Activision, can make our shareholders happy. So when people are always like, oh, Bungie's the evil guy, I think secretly Activision is just as evil.
Here's my little secret.
Destiny 2.
Murderer! Tell them the truth. I did it so they can hear you. I killed.
Destiny 2.
But apart from all this, I mean, the real question is, what are the lessons learned? Like, I think that the facts and figures are what we need to look at, and the facts and figures don't lie, people. And I personally think that this whole journey shows us that you can be pro-consumer and still make a lot of money and still build a great audience. In
Yeah.
terms of what Warframe is doing compared to what Destiny's doing.
Yeah, I think what we should really be celebrating here is Warframe's success, and I suppose not so much Destiny's downfall. I mean, Warframe is an ongoing example of how, you know, keeping consumer centricity at the core of your business practice, your business model, your game design, and your day-to-day doings as a company really does find you onto a path of success.
I agree.
I mean, again, you know, you'd look at Warframe 4 or 5 years ago, and then you look at it now, and it's just a different game in every single way. And it's because they focused on their player base, they gave them what they want, they listened to what their player base wants, and they iterated, and they implemented those changes in a way that was fair, wasn't, you know, charging through the nose, and was ambitious. That's the big thing. It's ambitious.
I agree with that. A few other development houses have echoed similar stories here. I mean, I think Warframe has that tenacious, hard-working ethic that Ubisoft has with some games that when they come out, they're not sure what they should be. They keep working on it, and they get it to where it is. And also, I find that it's, as I said, Warframe is very pro-consumer, just like CD Projekt Red. You know, it's kind of so... let's give you as much as possible, and it comes back in dividends, and this is exactly what we're talking about here. It's just, it gives so much to the actual consumer that they get paid massively in return, not only in money, they make a lot of money obviously, but also in the way that they're respected in the industry and what that brings and other future IPs that they want to bring out.
We're seeing a shift in how publishers are doing their business now. So Division 2, Ubisoft has announced that DLC for the Division 2 is completely free.
Yeah.
They're charging you for the game, and then they're going to give you content on the go, well, not on the go, ongoing, I should say, at no additional cost. They'll now, don't be fooled, there will be some monetization mechanics within the game. It could be cosmetic or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But the core game is free for everyone ongoing.
And I think
now the important thing that does is it doesn't fragment your player base. It means that if Sam wants to pay and he wants to buy the expansion, and if I don't want to buy the expansion, I'm not quite sold, we can still play the same content, enjoy the same experience, and then maybe both get hooked.
Yeah.
But if you're fragmenting your player base, you're going to lose one, and then you're going to lose the other.
I agree. I mean, especially in terms of a social environment with gaming, if one person has bought that DLC and a few others haven't, and you're able to go on the journey with that person that has, you're more inclined to not only convert those players, but again build your brand up and continue to give all the players an experience that will make them keep coming back for more, and hopefully, of course, spending more, because as I said before in other videos, it's okay to make money if you are giving something that's worth purchasing. You know? And I think EA's also done that now.
Yeah,
they're also releasing Battlefield and Battlefront stuff that's just going to be free DLC, and that's really important.
Yeah, so EA, I mean, when EA is doing better than you know you're up shit creek.
Yes, you know when EA Evil is doing better than you, that you've got some problems.
So Battlefield 2 and Battlefield 5 content ongoing as well will have the same structure as something like the Division 2.
Yeah.
They're going to give you the content, and then they monetize it in-game through cosmetics. So, I mean, even EA are listening. And I know the Bungie "we're listening now" is a meme at this point, but they're fucking not. And they need to be, because, I mean, when you got updates like what Warframe's doing in the looter shooter genre, and when competing, you know, the large of the big three third-party publishers are also shifting and leaving sort of Activision in the corner doing their own little thing. It makes them stand out because, you know, how the player bases and how the market looks at your brand, not only in the products that you make, but the way that you sell those products and what you ask for ongoing really has a big effect on your overall success. If you haven't played Warframe yet, give it a go. Find someone who's like a friend of yours that does play it, because it's really doesn't hold your hand. Certainly not a plug at all.
This is not sponsored by Warframe.
But yeah, look, it really is one of the best examples of free-to-play, fair economy. And a game that really respects, you know, your money and your time investment. So that's the news.
That is it, guys.
That's
we will leave you now until tomorrow, okay? But we will keep you posted, and we just love to see how much hard work that these developers put in, and they get rewarded for it. We just want to see more of this. So, guys, till tomorrow, see you then.
Cold, the air and water flowing hard, the land we call our home. Push to keep the dark from coming, feel the weight of what we owe. This, the song of sons and daughters,